Hello and welcome, I'm Wayne Swass and thanks for joining us for this very special event as we broadcast the first open session from the Bombers' new headquarters and training facility, now officially known as the True Value Solar Centre. It's about powering change and this is an extremely exciting partnership for the Essendon Football Club. Great to have this man joining me this morning, my co-host, and that is Rowan Connolly. Welcome, Rowan.
Hi, Schrotter. Good to be here. Very exciting day for all Essendon supporters, I think.
Yeah, it's come a long way. We'll cross out to the new centre. It's just been a phenomenal year for the Bombers for a whole host of reasons, but I think, importantly, this is the beginning of a new season for Essendon.
Absolutely, and I think it's easy to lose sight of just how good the season on-field was. So much focus on other matters, of course, but as Paul Chapman said, actually, when he arrived at the club, that very late in the season, this was a side that was playing for top spot on the ladder. So, in purely competitive terms, there's a heap to look forward to for all Bomber fans.
Yeah, at the end of round 17, they were second, one game behind Hawthorn. It went horribly wrong after that, but there's a lot of people out there, young, old, and in between, and they're enjoying the morning, I should say. And there's a lot of hope and a lot of optimism. I think that the book is closed from an Essendon perspective on the year from hell, and they're really looking forward to what 2014 may promise.
Absolutely. I think, they've worked pretty hard to, just concentrate on what's going on the field. Some really exciting additions to the mix. I think, a lot of people really excited about Paul Chapman arriving at Essendon, just to, first pick up a recruit the calibre of Brendon Goddard, now Chappie, a triple premiership player.
Have you been out to the facility?
I have.
What do you think?
Well, look, I'm pretty cynical and hard to impress, Schwatter, but I have to say, even my jaw was dropping.
Really?
It's amazing. It's palatial. Every facility a player could ever want. I think just probably all it's missing is a nightclub and a Macca's, and you could just about live there. Maybe not the Macca's, but it's an amazing setup.
A nightclub didn't serve St Kilda well.
No,
it's still not serving St Kilda well. But this is all about the Bombers. The True Value Solar Centre is equipped with a state-of-the-art solar power system installed by the great team at True Value Solar, and that is to power a significant portion of the facility, turning the True Value Solar Centre into a more efficient and effective building from an environmental perspective. We are actually going to hear from the new coach, Mark Thompson, for the next 12 months in his pre-training address a little bit later on. But right now, let's head back out to the True Value Solar Centre. The head of fitness, Justin Crowe, is about to take the boys through their warm-up.
So after coming outside, they've done some inside preparation, some stretching, some mobility, getting ready to train. The players come out, they've put their GPS units on, their heart rate straps on, kitted up, and now they're off for the first part of the warm-up where they'll do a general run and start to prepare so they're ready for their first drill of training. So this is the GPS and heart rate monitoring station. Our performance analysts will look closely at the players' data as it comes in. We'll be looking for the guys to cover ground, checking what sort of speed they're getting during the session and making sure we're hitting our conditioning parameters. So the guys will walk through sort of a thorough stretch, dynamic mobility, working through their calves now, hip flexor, other things as they get ready to train. So through the warm-up, you should expect to see them go from slow to fast, working through the slow part now, making sure they're nice and stretched and ready to go. We'll gradually go into some more agility, handball and kicking, and increase the speed and intensity of the warm-up as we get through it. So by the time they're ready for the first drill, they're actually ready, switched on and ready to go. Bom, how you going? Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Going well?
Yeah, going well.
No suntan over there?
Nah, mate, I'm normally pacey, but a bit even worse now.
Nice to see you, Crowe.
Got it, John, good to see you.
You're the only bloke that never bought me anything back.
Is that right?
Yeah. I'm telling him, God, he won't do it.
They bought me a bag of snow.
The training hasn't started
Look
yet.
at everything.
I said it has.
Don't
Shut up.
There he is.
We had a good session. We've been trying to...
Good. Good.
The numbers, it's just...
Yeah. Yeah.
Like contact with players.
Yeah. Good for you, everyone back together.
Yeah. He said talk to the group and...
Good.
And it was good to have Stance, those older blokes around the young ones.
Good. Yeah.
Drive the standards.
Yep.
I'm with them.
Yep. Good. Now these guys will be excited to get back on a bigger space now then.
Booksy was good.
Hey?
Booksy was good.
Yeah. This was good. Jets attitude and effort's been good. Brownie.
Did he cover on?
Who's that?
Delulio.
Yeah, a little bit backy, but okay. warm-up will start to build up now. The players are looking to get in some handball and some kicking, a bit of agility, avoiding coaches, working the ball through. Try to make them think through the warm-up and start to switch their brains as well as their bodies on for training. Players are just taking a long stride down the middle just to start to increase their speed, open up the legs, and a little bit more mobility now, and they start to increase the intensity of the warm-up.
There you go, Justin Crowe just talking you through the Bombers' first open session there. They're underway. I tell you what is obvious though, Rowan Connolly, great to have you this morning, is how fit Bomber Thompson looks.
He does. He pretty tanned too. He had a bit of a sabbatical in Vietnam, and I know he really enjoyed that. But what struck me about Bomber, just talking to him a couple of times recently, is just how fired up he is. I think
he wasn't like that originally. With the I guess the legacy of a really difficult year at the end of the season, he didn't want to borrow this.
No, absolutely, and it really took a toll on him. But it just struck you. I think just having a little bit of time to consider all his options, and it's restored his love for the game, and that competitive fire's back. And you know, you're talking about a dual premiership coach. What a wonderful bloke to have at the helm.
So he was the right man at probably the wrong moment to fill the void of James Hird having to sit a year out of footy.
Without any question at all. And I think there's no one at the club that wouldn't agree with that. I mean, the only issue was about did he have the fire in his belly, and after a little bit of time away, I think it became more and more obvious to all concerned that he did. You know, he's a wonderful coach. He has fantastic relationships with his players. He's tactically switched on. The Geelong blueprint, which, you know, Essendon has followed to a large degree, is a proven one. And he's seen this team from first hand for the last 3 years.
And can't let that vision go without sort of making mention there's an old fella there who will turn 39 next May, who lines up for his 22nd year of AFL football, who, correct me if I'm wrong, actually would have played footy with Bomber towards the end of his career.
Played in the 93 premiership together. Look, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you and I feel like we could still get a kick swatter.
I think we're halfway into a coffin, bro. Two people that aren't are back out at the True Value Solar Centre, and that is Jackie Reid and Justin Rodsky. Welcome to you guys. Paint the picture for us.
Thanks, Wayne. Well, hundreds of fans have gathered here at the True Value Solar Centre to watch the Bombers hit the track. And Justin, it's like a fresh start for the club, isn't it, with these new facilities?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, we moved in here last month at the start of November. We had the official opening of the True Value Solar Centre, and ever since then, it's been absolutely fantastic for the entire club. The players, coaches, staff, and also the fans today get a chance to come out here and see it for the first time, so it's been great. Well,
now that the Bombers have hit the track, stick with us. We'll have plenty of interviews with club officials and players throughout our coverage.
All right, thanks, guys. It's underway over there. A lot of excitement, not only for the players, right? Look, I can sort of speak quite well about Arden Street and a couple of portables and holes in the roofs. And in the gym, we'd have buckets underneath the holes to stop the rain coming through. But I mean, I don't know how you put a percentage on it, but it gives the Bombers the best opportunity, given the facilities and the two venues to train on, for a great year ahead.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I think they're realistic about it. I mean, facilities alone aren't going to get you success on the field. North Melbourne, that you're part of in the 90s, is good proof of that. But I think it's the differences between clubs now on the field are so small that every little bit of competitive advantage helps, and there's absolutely no question this facility is the best in the league. And a few of your North Melbourne teammates would look at it and weep, Shorter.
No, we love the portables, bro. Came in on the back of a couple of trucks. I tell you one, man, he just looks really comfortable, back doing what he did so well for the Cats, now in charge of the Bombers, and that is Mark Bomber Thompson. That is live vision there from the True Value Solar Centre, the new headquarters and training venues, the size of Etihad and also the MCG. Well, we've spoken a bit about Mark Bomber Thompson. Well, he delivered his opening address today at the new venue to the players, I should say, and support staff before training. Let's have a listen.
Hey boys, welcome back from Colorado. Feels like this pre-season we've hardly been together, and I can tell you for certain that we've got a lot of work to do, and our best work's got to be done after Christmas. We're looking forward to that. There'll be a few changes, and won't be massive changes, but today is all about just having the blokes of Colorado just running your legs out, and the guys who have been here, the young boys. How's it been, Hamsy?
Yeah, it's been pretty good, pretty solid.
Pretty good? What do you mean by pretty good and pretty solid?
So we've done a bit of a camp, so we've all learned a few things. We've been out on the track and we've developed our route drill, which we've been doing well. Yeah, been learning a bit of
What does that mean?
well, we've been out on the track, we've been learning, been listening.
What have you been learning?
We've been learning our methods, so we've been taking the ball off the line, we've been back and go. We've been defending the ground well,
that's
squeezing
better.
the ground in, making the ground bigger, forwards are getting back, Joey's getting back.
Back where?
Back to go,
Why?
make the ground bigger.
Yeah. How about that, Joe? That's much better. Boys, obviously the fans are here. We owe them a lot. We're going to really try and give a little bit back, and I'm sorry to do it to you, but there's going to be people here a fair bit. It's all part of being a footballer. Let's go and embrace it. Spend some time with them. We'll do the training hardy, and then we'll let you go home, mate. You look tired. You look like you're half asleep already. No? So, 2 more skill sessions. Friday we want to have a decent session, so just get the boys have been to Colorado, get your legs going and get your head around doing a good session. Every session we have from now on, I think there's, what, 16 now? 16 skill sessions. That's going to be the focus of our lives. And we're going to learn how to play together as quick as we can. Let's get into it.
And a big thank you to the Bombers and especially Mark "Bomber" Thompson. A couple of things that I pick up there, Rowan. I get the distinct impression that the Bombers, with Mark Thompson in charge, want to be an open club more often than not.
No question about that, and they've been very public about that. At a major sponsorship announcement a few weeks ago, Bomber went out of his way to say that. He said, we'll have very few closed sessions. We're really about reconnecting with our membership. And, you know, I think football supporters feel often that clubs are sort of becoming more removed from them. And just to be able to come to training, you know, a bit like the old days, I guess. You know, you go to training, you watch your favourite players, you can grab an autograph. That's the sort of thing that AFL clubs need more of. And I think Essendon's realised that, you know, there's a few fences to be repaired, I guess, between they and the membership, and this is a very honest attempt to do that.
Well, that's a great start. That is all that vision coming to you from the True Value Solar Centre, the Bombers' new headquarters and training facility. The other thing I picked up, once upon a time, back in the old days, Rowan, the coach would tell you what to do and there was nothing said back to the coach. Yet he asked the question to Will Hams and then he drilled down more. Just that consultative approach from coach to players is just, it's the modern foray into how AFL football gets conducted.
Oh, I blame Generation Y. You can't yell at them, they just switch off. So, no, look, I think it's a two-way street. You ask people at Geelong, Bomber was famous having great relationships with his players, and that was half the reason for their success, I think. And the young blokes at any list now have more input than they would have back in your day.
Yep. Well, there he is. He's right at home once again. Mark "Bomber" Thompson taking charge out there. The man who's been in charge for a reasonably turbulent year is with Jackie Reid and Justin Rodsky, and that is the chairman of the Essendon Football Club.
Thanks, Wayne. Well, Essendon chairman Paul Little has been kind enough to join us. And Paul, it must be pretty heartening to see so many fans out here given the difficult season the Bombers have had.
Well, look, I think the difficult season is probably the reason you're seeing so many members out here. It's been difficult, but there's a lot of hope for the future, and there's a lot of positive things happening at the moment. New players, new coaching panel, new facilities. So, yeah, all in all, it's a lot to look forward to.
And another positive the other night at the AGM, Paul, was Simon Madden joining the board, a premiership player and equal games record holder with Dustin Fletcher.
Of course, Simon's already made his views known to me in the last few days on a number of matters. Simon will bring a wealth of knowledge about his experience, and he's also a very good thinker, so we're very excited about having Simon on the board.
Are you confident that the club can move on from such a horrible season this year and make a fresh start of it in 2014?
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, we were playing for top spot there 2/3 of the way through the season. The playing group are very excited. We haven't had a great deal of change to our playing group. And I think we just need to settle the external noise, and that's my job really in 2014.
And membership plays a big part in any football club. Essendon already heading towards 40,000 members, possibly before Christmas. A fantastic start to the membership campaign.
Yeah, again, I think what we're seeing here is that the membership are really closing in tightly behind the club, voting with their memberships, and I just think our unique supporters and members at Essendon are unique, and they've really given us a wonderful start to next season.
The club's still on a hunt for a new CEO. How's that going at this point?
Well, the CEO process has been thorough, if nothing else. I've conducted a number of the interviews myself, and there's a very high quality of interviewees being out there, and so to some extent a lot of talented people want to come and join the club, so that's a good message. Look, we are now ready to take our decision to the board, and I believe that we should be able to make an announcement probably within the next week, I would have thought.
Well, thank you very much for your time. There you have it, Essendon Chairman Paul Little.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Justin. And a big thank you to Paul Little there, the chairman of the Bombers. And a new CEO is imminent, Rowan.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I guess that's testimony to just how important a position it is. And, you know, Ray Gunston's done a fantastic job as that temporary CEO for over 6 months now. But, yeah, look, some really quality applicants in for that job. And, look, whoever it is, big shoes to fill.
Another quality addition, Simon Madden, the Essendon legend, joins the board.
Well, I think there wouldn't be many Essendon supporters that aren't absolutely wrapped with that. I mean, Simon is the definitive Essendon person, I think. You know, he's been involved with the club for over 40 years now, and champion player. He's spent a lot of time in coaching roles, you know, coaching the ruckman. But more than that, I think he's always been a really good conduit for the Essendon supporters. He's got a very good feel for what the rank and file fans are thinking, and I think the board probably needs that. So, you know, a wonderful appointment, I think, and yeah, I'm rapt about that.
And the man wearing number 18 on his back, Dustin Fletcher, equal games record with Simon Madden. He'll 22nd season next year, and Fletch will become the man who sits on top of the most games played for the Bombers. Jobe Watson, what a year he had, both on and off the field. And I think for a man that was put under enormous pressure, he handled himself unbelievably well through a difficult year.
He did. Look, when you talk about the great captains in the AFL, you know, you talk about Ablett, but you talk about Jobe, you talk about Joel Selwood, but Jobe's right up there. I mean, I don't think any skipper could have coped with more off-field distractions and pressure than he had. And he handled it brilliantly. His performance stood up, second in the best and fairest, averaged 26 disposals for the year, averaged 5.1 clearances. You know, he's an elite player of the competition. He's a Brownlow medalist, and he's a great inspiration for him.
And on top of that, 16 goals. And he was publicly criticised, especially early in his career, for his inability to hit targets. But I've really admired the way that he's developed that part of his game and become a player who can kick midfield goals but also go forward. David Zaharakis, another important player. Let's talk about 2013, Ro. Finished 9th. By default, effectively, 14 wins, 8 losses. That was 3 more wins than the Blues, who finished in 8th, 2 more than Port Adelaide in 7th, and the same number of wins as the Pies in 6th. So, all in all, overshadowed by a lot of off-field dramas. At the end of round 17, they were 1 game from top position. That showed a lot of resilience for mine.
Well, that was exactly the word I was going to come up with. If you're looking for one word to describe their season, I think you'd have to say resilient. And even before, I mean, whilst the trouble was going on, but before it really hit the fan, you know, some of the wins they clocked up, 2 fantastic wins in Perth, win to start the season over in Adelaide. Yep. They knocked over a lot of bogeys because travel was a really big problem for them for years and years. I think they've overcome that. Anzac Day, terrific win over Collingwood. Great win over Carlton late in the year when all that pressure was going on. They've improved their defence. You know, I think they've conceded fewer points year by year. Midfield has more depth to it. I think the forward line is probably one area that needs to be addressed and will be addressed. I mean, obviously, Stuart Cramery, leading goal kicker last season, no longer there. Scott Gumbleton's gone. But again, this is why Paul Chapman's such a great addition. He's a quality midfielder, but he's also a quality small forward. I think a lot of expectancy on the shoulders of Joe Danaher. You know, can he slot into that key forward post and kick goals? Paddy Ryder and Tom Bell-Chambers, they're quality ruckmen, but they're also guys who can go forward and kick goals. So that's an area that will, I think, be, you know, just toyed with a bit and hopefully settled down. But most of the basics that go with being a successful team, I think they've really come close to getting right.
Does the 2014 Essendon forward structure have Michael Hurley in it, or is he up the other end of the ground?
That's a $64 million question. I know Bomber Thompson has said publicly he would prefer Hurley to play back. I think the consensus in the footy world seems to be that he's a more natural backman than a key forward, and I tend to agree with that. However, there's been plenty of occasions when his attack on the ball as a key forward has been invaluable for them.
Well, this man signed a one-year contract extension in September. He's a very important player. He's been crippled by injuries and significant injuries in Jason Winderlich, I speak of, with back and hamstring injuries. 12 games, 17 goals in 2013, and he will line up for another year in 2014. And before training got underway at the True Value Solar Centre, the Bombers' new headquarters and training facility, Jackie Reid caught up with Jason Winderlich.
Well, Jason Winderlich has been good enough to join us, and Jason, it must be fantastic to see the support down here at your new facilities.
Yeah, it is. It's always pleasing to see all the fans always come out and support us through thick and thin, and I think it's a great chance for everyone to come out today to check out the new facility and the size of it.
The new facilities, tell us about what you've experienced so far. I mean, how big a difference is this going to make for you this year?
I think, yeah, most of the guys have realised that in terms of your ability to recover from session to session, and then also through the season, it would be from obviously game to game. And yeah, it's fantastic. We're at Windy Hill I was personally for 11 years, and to then come on the back end of my career to come out here, like even guys like Fletch, so excited. It gives you a new lease on life.
You didn't go to Colorado with the boys. You've got a young daughter at home. Is that the reason why?
Yeah, that was the main reason. I think I'd miss her too much. She just turned 14 months, so she just started walking a few months ago, so I don't want to miss all those sort of things as she's growing up, and also just my injury history with a couple of back operations and hamstring stuff for the last couple of years. It was more important for me to stay back here and do more conditioning in the weights room. You
have had a few difficult pre-seasons the last couple of years with a lot of injuries. How is this one rated compared to those ones?
I've actually really enjoyed it. I think, like I spoke earlier, like coming out to a new facility, it's been awesome. The time's gone so quick that we've been out here for the sessions before Christmas, and yeah, like so far I've completed every session, and yeah, you've got another 3 or 4 days to go, and then we Christmas break up.
Must be a bit of a relief though to get a fair crack at a summer campaign.
It is. It's the most important time, I think. The sort of November, December, January period to get a good base in for fitness, and then throughout sort of the start of next year, it's more just your footy skills that you want to concentrate on leading into the games.
Bomber Thompson at the helm, how has that changed things this summer?
Not a hell of a lot. Obviously James was the more vocal one when he was here, but in terms of like our structures and setups, like we were really confident we've got a good game plan that has been put in place over the last few years, and nothing has changed from that perspective, just a couple of personnel changes.
There's a few new faces, like you said, that have joined the club. How are they all settling in?
Really good, yeah. The young guys, obviously we weren't into the draft very early. We got Zach Merritt at pick 26. He looks like an absolute beauty. Like he's like a little Luke Power, really smart, left footer, nice kick, so hopefully I'll be able to lead to a few of his nice disposals throughout the year. And then I think another one that might surprise people is Fraser Thurlow, a rookie big guy from up Gold Coast, which we needed some ruck support with David Hill leaving, so I think he'll be great for the VFL side, and then he might get his chance throughout the year.
A big name, Paul Chapman, how is he going?
Yeah, he's going well, Chappie. I really like him. He's old school. But he's been fantastic for the young guys here. I think it was great that he didn't go to Colorado, so he got to know the young guys really well over the last 2.5 weeks, and yeah, he's settled in beautifully.
Now that everyone's back training together for the first time again today since Colorado, who are you looking forward to seeing? Who's going to be the front runner this pre-season?
I still think, obviously Brent Stanton stayed back with us, and he's been running unbelievably, but another one of the young guys that we got, Johnny Rayner, who's like a 800-metre champion, so he's been good to watch Stance and him run together, and I think it'll be more interesting to see the guys who have come back, to see if they've made any ground on those two fellas.
Well, thanks so much for your time. There you have it, Jason Winderlich.
And good luck to Jason Winderlich in 2014. He's got another year of footy, and let's hope it's a very good year of footy, because when he's fit and available, he's a very important link-up player.
No question about that. And he's almost like an ace up the sleeve. I mean, continuity's been the only issue with him, but, you know, he's quick, he's a very smart player, can kick goals, can add speed through the midfield. Wonderful asset.
Want to get your thoughts on Leroy Jetta, because Alwyn Davey was delisted at the end of 2013. Nick Commer's come in and made a real fist of his debut season. It's a big year for 2014 for Leroy Jetta next year.
It's a career-defining year for him. Look, I'm one of a lot of people who've been quite critical of Jetta. He just hasn't got his hands to the football enough ever. Yep. And can be a little bit indecisive. But as you say, I mean, Alwyn Davey's no longer there. And Nick Comer, who I think, and there's Nick Comer now talking to Jetta, you know, he's been a wonderful addition, Comer, because of his work rate off the ball. You know, he puts on tremendous defensive pressure. I think that's the thing Jetta's got to really add to his game, as well as simply getting his hands on the football more. Yep. So massive year for him. Corey Delolio's another one, and we see him there as well. You know, he, I think when he's played, has been able to apply great tackling pressure. So they're the examples that Jetta needs to follow. You know, we know he's got skill. He's been in the system long enough now to know what he needs to do. Look, perhaps 2014 could be the year when he really emerges and becomes a more consistent footballer.
Well, it's his 8th year in 2014 for Leroy Jetta, so let's hope it's the best of his career. Well, you go and get a veteran with 251 games experience, two-time premiership player. He's 32 years old. I reckon we're seeing a rejuvenated and invigorated Paul Chapman.
Well, I'm looking at those pictures now and saying, gee, Scott Gumbleton's shrunk and lost his hair, hasn't he? Well, obviously Gumbleton's gone to Fremantle and they haven't fixed Chappie's training vest up yet. But look, there wouldn't be an Essendon supporter who isn't really excited about his arrival. Just a terrific player. He's a Norm Smith medalist. He's a triple premiership player. He's tough, but he's also very skillful and a very smart footballer. Now, it's going to be interesting to see just how Essendon uses him. Geelong increasingly, I think, used him as a midfielder last year. I think the breakup, I asked him the other week, the breakup was about 60-40, I think, you know, 60 midfield, 40 forward. Essendon might be inclined to use him a bit more forward than that, I think, just for that goal-kicking nous. But, you know, it's like having an elite player in both categories, two players for the price of one. Not to mention the wonderful leadership example and, you know, just having that premiership experience. And I know for a fact so many Essendon players already have spoken to Chappie about, you know, what does it take to become a premiership player? You can't buy that experience, really.
Well, I hope that Leroy Jetta is one of those players that is just following Paul Chapman around and absolutely taking on board everything that champion has got to say about what it takes to make a great AFL career. Well, this man had an illustrious VFL career and he's the new board member of the Essendon Football Club and he is with our very own Jackie Reid.
Thanks, Wayne. Well, Simon Madden has been good enough to join me. And Simon, you've joined the board.
I've joined the board, yes. It was an interesting concept. I thought about it for a while. I've been asked before, but I just thought, I think it's a really good time to maybe have some input. A lot of people have been standing and pointing. I said, well, you can do that or you can get involved and help. So we've got the High Performance Centre, the great grounds, a new season happening. So I was really keen to get on board.
Was it difficult to watch on this season?
Oh, look, it's you never like, well, being a part of the club, you never like to see your club go through any hard times. But I think in the history of football, when clubs are under pressure, they really do bond together. And I think one strong thing I've seen out of it is the clubs really bonded together this year.
You spoke about the new facilities. How do they compare to the ones that you used to use?
Look, I can be cheeky, I'm allowed to. If we had this, we would have won 5 premierships. This is just sensational. This is the players have got no excuses. You've got everything you'd ever want to be the best football you can be. So if a player says, we haven't got, no, you can't say you haven't got anything because you've got it all here. It's fantastic.
What about Bomber Thompson at the helm? How do you think he's handling it so far?
Oh, look, he's very good. At the annual general meeting the other night, I just thought he handled it very, very well. You could see there's a real spring in his step. He has been a senior coach. He didn't necessarily, I'm not sure he ever thought he might go back to it, but I think the whole situation has put him in a position where he's the head coach now, and I think he really can understand that he's got a really good role for a year, and I think he's really enthusiastic about it. He had a big smile on his face interviewing the players anyway.
It seems like there's a fresh start feeling around the club at the moment. Plenty of fans out and about here today as well.
Look, it's fantastic. I think the club, great move for the club to have all the fans come along. It's not the easiest place to get to because of proximity to the airport and traffic, but to see the amount of people come out just to, again, bond with the club and see the players back from overseas and see them training, it's fantastic. It's always great to see the fans, you know that.
Well, thanks very much for your time. There you have it, Simon Madden.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Simon. That's vision from the True Value Solar Centre, the Bombers' new training and facility and headquarters there. We're going to hear from Neil Craig not too far away, but we've spoken about Paul Chappie, Rowan. The Bombers at the national draft had a couple of selections. Pick 26 they went and selected Zachary Merritt, which is the younger brother of Jackson, Orazio Fantasia, and that was pick 55, and Lockie Dalglish elevated from the rookie list with pick 64. So they've targeted genuine leg speed for the Bombers to add to that midfield mix. Yeah, well, midfield depth is so much of the equation now, as you well know, and you know, it's not only hardness you want skill, but you want speed. And you know, I think for a while that was a bit of a question mark on Essendon's midfield, a little bit stodgy perhaps. So these guys definitely help fix that up. And you've got to love the name Orazio Fantasia. I mean, you know, people who loved Mark McCurry and Joey Masidi, the Italians have got another nod there. Yes, Dustin Fletcher. It's just remarkable to think that he's gone through so many different phases and evolution of the game of AFL football. Debuted in 1993, and in 2014 he'll just trot out again. He's been so durable. I mean, it's incredible in this day and age, given how physically demanding the sport is, that someone can play at this age. I mean, Michael Tuck, you know, was the last player at this age to do that, and that was more than 20 years ago now. So he's been a freak. You know, look, he got found out a little bit last year for that durability, but I just think I'm told his pre-season's been really encouraging. And such a crucial general of that defence. And again, it's like having an on-field coach, and I think they intend to use him in that sort of role more and more as well. So he's been a wonderful player for Essendon, one of the great defenders of the modern era, really, and I'm sure they'll get plenty of good service again. Now, I think clubs, including Essendon, have got much better at managing your ageing players, so you'll strategically give them a week off or maybe 2 weeks, as opposed to having to rush them back like you may have done in the older days. Correct. And, you know, there's a lot of different sized and shaped forward lines now too, so you know, there may be occasions when they can afford to give him a rest more than in the past. And again, you know, it's remarkable, a guy's born in 1975 is still playing league football, but his judgment, his closing speed, his leadership on the field, which is often underestimated. I think, you know, he's not a demonstrative sort of character, Fletch, but just has so much football knowledge that I think other defenders learn from. Fletcher's at one end of his career, and that man's at the beginning of his career. A lot of expectations around the shoulders or on the shoulders of Joe Danaher. Yeah, well, you know, he's had a taste of it, hasn't he? 5 games last year, and, you know, there were, I guess, cameos where you could see what all the fuss was about. Our expectations sometimes as a football mad public, though, are unrealistic. I mean, this is still a kid. Absolutely. Got a famous surname, but he needs time to develop into the role. And I think you'll see the benefit of that next year. I mean, they've got plenty of good tools, Essendon, and have had, and I think that it gave them the relative luxury of being able to ease him into the mix. But even in those isolated senior appearances, you know, there were little sort of 10-minute bursts where he was grabbing everything. He's a monster kick. And you talk to anyone involved with junior football and they just raved about what he produced. So, big year for him. He'd be aware of that. You know, I think the scope really is there for him to develop into the permanent key forward that they need. And we spoke about Michael Hurley. That would enable Hurley to play in defence for longer stints, I think. Just to put you on the spot, what would your expectation be for Joe in 2014 games goals? Oh, look, I think he'd be playing at least probably 3/4 of the game. So I'd say, you know, 15, 16 games. If they can get, you know, 25 to 30 goals out of him, I think that'd be a really good result. He's also a guy who can pinch hit in the ruck as well, so there's plenty of flexibility with him. Aerobically very good, and I'd imagine that Paul Chapman will be snapping at Joe's feet throughout the course of next year. Well, they've had some big signings on field, most notably the Bombers went and got their man Paul Chapman. Another important signing for the Bombers row is Neil Craig, and he is with Jackie Reid and Justin Rodsky.
Thanks, Wayne. Well, Neil Craig has been good enough to join us. And Neil, it's fantastic to see so much support here today.
Yeah, it is, Jackie. It's, I mean, first of all, it's a fantastic facility for our supporters to come down and to have a look at and feel proud of the facility, of what Essendon's been able to provide. And the other thing we know, of course, is Mark Thompson's really keen to involve the supporters as much as we can, you know, to make it an inclusive club, to feel part of it. And that's why today, these sort of days are really important for our supporter group.
Can you tell me a little bit about this facility and what makes it so special?
Well, what I do know is it's world class and certainly the best facility in Australia in terms of team sports. I mean, you probably can't see it from here, but inside you've got an unbelievable indoor training facility where you can do some serious footy work. You've got your recovery centre, you've got your swimming pool, you've got a fantastic weight training, and the layout of the whole thing is really good. So, it doesn't actually do the job for players. You still have to have good people, good coaches, but it certainly sends a very clear message to the rest of the competition about what Essendon is about.
And Craig, you're an experienced football person. You've been a senior coach yourself, and you've been at a number of clubs now. What have been some of the first impressions you've had since you arrived at Essendon?
Well, there's been probably 2 or 3, some with footy, just and others sort of outside of footy. Certainly the initial impression from a facility point of view, as I said to Jackie, it sends a really clear message that Essendon are getting on with footy and being the most powerful, wanting to be the most powerful club in the competition, and that type of facility is clearly based around that sort of messaging. Most of my work has been with the younger players to this point of time, and I enjoy their attitude. They're up for it. They're looking for more work to build on, and pushing themselves up to get to be selected. The other thing I like about Essendon is that they're not in denial. Paul Little, chairman or president, has put his hand up and said, we've made some errors, and it's now our responsibility to rebuild the trust and respect back in the competition. And once you put your hand up and accept responsibility for that, then you've got a real chance. And I know Mark Thompson's very keen to rebuild the respect that we need to get back as a football club.
You mentioned the young players. You stayed back in Melbourne while a group went to Boulder. Talk us through what the development camp looked like here at the club. Yeah, the camp went for 3 days. It was an intense period. The guys slept overnight, 2 nights in actual fact. The food, I'd say, was pretty basic, Justin. It wasn't about being a brutal camp, but it was certainly about taking the players out of their comfort zone in terms of the physical workload, in terms of food, in terms of sleep deprivation. So what happens is you start to get a feel for the way people react under a bit of adversity. In the debrief with the players, I know they thoroughly enjoyed it. They've got some confidence out of it and some self-belief that they can handle a whole range of different situations. So it was a good camp in their own facility. So you've had a close look at these young boys. I mean, is there anyone we should be keeping our eye on for next season? No, look, I think in general, Jackie, basically the 1st to 4th year players, 3rd to 4th year players stayed here. As a snapshot, their attitude to wanting to be the best they can possibly be is refreshing, and it creates enthusiasm to be around that group. Some of them have got a lot of work to do, because to play AFL footy, to play winning AFL footy, is a very tough environment to play in. So, we spoke to them about our responsibility of coaches is to make sure that we give them an opportunity and we give them the conditions to prepare for when they run out the race, that they're ready for it. So there's a lot of work to go into all that. What about someone like Joe Danaher? He's had plenty of raps on him, but he has a lot of work to do. How is he progressing this summer? No, Joe's progressed enormously. I did an interview the other day with from afl.com.au, and I made the point there that Joe has improved immensely. He's now actually testing himself. He's testing other players. He's getting some self-belief. He feels good about himself, and he'll need to too, because the arena he's going to put himself into, as I said, is a very fierce, competitive arena, and so you need to be prepared to, when you go into there, that you're up for the challenge, not just hope that you play well. You need to prepare to play well, and Joe's certainly improving in that area. And Craig, your training today looked like a little bit of match simulation out there. Yeah, can you talk us through what you're doing out there? Training today, Justin, is the first drill we did was really about transition. So going from offence to defence back to offence. Basically 8v8. We've brought the ground in to promote a certain aspect of our ball movement, so that sort of promotes a bit more penetration with the kick. And now they're just going into basically a little handball drill as well. So not an overly taxing session. The guys from Colorado have come back this morning, so they're just sort of easing their way back into it. Big session on Friday, another big physical session on Saturday, break over Christmas, and January the 6th, Justin, watch out. Back into it. She's on. Yeah. There was one big name that's not out there today, Brendon Goddard. I understand he came home a couple of days early from Boulder. Yeah, he came home for a personal reason, but he was also
little bit sore in the calf, but he'll be fine, Jackie. You know, at this stage you tend to be a bit overcautious rather than overly aggressive. So it's important that he gets himself right, and by January the 6th he'll be back in the full training.
That rehab group's pretty tiny now. I mean, is it just Brendon left in that rehab group?
Yeah, you got Dempsey as well as in there, but it is small, and that in general is a good thing. I tend to come from a bit the opposite a bit. I like to see some sore bodies, okay, which means you're working them hard enough. But that'll ramp up after January the 6th.
And how important is it for members to get on board for next season and show their support?
Well, I can only talk from a sort of an outsider coming into the Essendon Footy Club. The members of this club last year, as an outsider looking in, were unbelievable in terms of their support for their footy club. You know, continually showing up. And I can only encourage them to continue that support, get on board. I know the playing group are hell-bent on going further again and improving, you know, and I think the members have a great opportunity now to show the rest of the AFL that they are the best supporter group in the AFL.
Well, let's hope they all get on board. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jackie.
There you have it, Neil Craig.
Oh, there you go. True Value Solar Centre. The Bombers out doing some of their work there. Neil Craig with Mark Thompson, a couple of really steely characters to work their way through 2014, given the events of 2013. Another good, astute decision.
Yeah, it is, and I think part of the reason for that is contrasting styles, if you like. I mean, Neil Craig, as everyone knows, got a huge background in sports science, very methodical, measured, calm. Not that Bomber isn't methodical, measured and calm, but, you know, a bit of a rough diamond and a smooth operator, I think. And he's such a mature head. And, you know, people in Victoria, I think, are unaware just how extensive his experience in South Australia was. You're talking about a guy that's been involved in elite football for 50 years. So, you know, I think he'll have an enormous advice to offer Bomber. And just a bit of the good cop, bad cop combination, I think, will work really well.
Look forward to watching Neil Craig's contribution through 2014. Well, we know most of the experienced players, Rowan, but when it comes to some of the new talent that's walked into the door to the True Value Solar Centre with the Bombers' headquarters and training facility, who better to get Callum Toomey in from afl.com.au, and he's the draft guru. Welcome, Callum. The Bombers had 2 live picks in the draft. We're going to get your expertise and I guess give some of the Bombers supporters out there an understanding of some of the new talent that's walked in the door.
And there is a bit of talent, Wayne. Rowan, nice to be here. Look, the recruiting philosophy and possibilities for Essendon were clearly limited because of the penalties that were handed to them losing their first 2 draft picks. But I think overall they had a pretty positive draft and exchange period. They got a couple of picks in and some really talented players. Obviously the first pick there was Zach Merritt at pick 26, the selection they got for Stuart Crameri from the Bulldogs. He's a guy who really come on this year. We didn't see a lot of him last year, but this was his big draft year. He's a former cricketer, so he actually hasn't had many pre-seasons. So he's still developing that fitness base. And I think speaking to him recently, his first couple of weeks at the club were a bit eye-opener for him, just in terms of getting into it and really working around that fitness base. But look, he had a really good year. He's a left foot, half forward midfielder. Small, he is small, but he's someone that you look at Paul Chapman, there's no better person to learn off, and he's in that sort of mould.
What about Fantasia? I mean, he played in that Sandford Premiership with Norwood. That's got to be a tremendous benefit for his education.
Yeah, he was the next pick at pick 55. Orazio, one of the great names, as you were saying before, Ron. Look, it is a benefit. I don't think we're going to see a lot of him next year, though. He's really lightly framed. He's one of the smaller, lighter players off the draft. 65 kilos, I think he was on draft day. So he's probably put on a couple already. He's still got a lot of way to go to there. But as you said, played in Norwood's premiership last year under Nathan Bassett, so he's clearly a big fan. I think when Adrian Dodoro recruited Fantasia, he said that, look, Nathan Bassett went really hard for him. He was a big advocate for his footy, and look, he's smart around goal. He's lightly framed, but he's in that sort of mould, as you say, half-forward guy who can run through the midfield and offer some more pace. We were talking before about, you know, offering some more pace to that midfield and half-forward mix. He's a lot like Jackson Merritt, actually. So where Zach's a little bit different from his brother, he's better in that respect. Look, Jackson Thurlow on the screen there. Oh, sorry, Fraser Thurlow. Jackson was at the Cats last year. Fraser Thurlow comes from Queensland. He's a rookie selection. He was their first pick in that rookie draft. They went really hard at a ruckman. They wanted a ruckman. They were considering taking a ruckman at pick 26. So that's how much they wanted him. Wanted one. He was the first one that they took in that rookie draft, pick 9 there. So he comes from Queensland. I think he grew up with footy because his parents loved it, even though he's grown up in one of the emerging states. So he's a really good option there. And the younger players and players at the club who've trained with him so far have been quite impressed by him.
Just on that too, I mean, they considered Darren Jolly. He had a medical with him, but ultimately overlooked him for Thurlow. So, I mean, that's a bit of vote of confidence in him in itself, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, and they had another ruckman as well, Michael Sikora, training with them throughout that pre-season and before the rookie period. So, obviously, he showed enough to suggest that he'll be able to play next year if he's required. Obviously, they have those 2 ruckmen there in Belchambers and Paddy Ryder, who were there, and obviously they're the first choice. So, whether he just took the nod as a developing guy, he's probably 21 next year. He's going to be on the verge of having that senior experience too. He played in the knee full throughout this year. So, look, he's a good choice in my mind because you hope that Paddy Ryder and Tom Belchambers are fit all the way through, but if they're not, then he's ready to step up. And you probably don't want to see too much of Joe Danaher in the ruck.
Yeah. Bombers also took another couple of rookies, Patrick Ambrose and the man wearing number 37 a few moments ago, Johnny Rayner.
Yeah, start with Paddy Ambrose. He comes via the odds variants in the red and black Melbourne Amateur League, so he's well accustomed to the colours. But he played 7 games for Essendon's VFL side last year. So he developed under their nose, really. So they've got to see and like him a lot. He's been likened to Stu Crammery in the way he's that athletically really good player, and he's also a really good runner, using that quick get off the mark speed and then bolting off, which is a bit unique for a 191cm player. Needs to work on his kicking, but has all the effort there and has already been identified as a really good character.
We're looking at Rayner there, number 37. Tell us a bit about him.
Well, he's a Category B rookie, and Essendon haven't gone this way before, so that means that he's able to join the club under the Alternative Talent Program. He qualifies as a rookie B-listed player. He hasn't been registered in an Australian football competition for the past 3 years, so it's the first time the Bombers have gone that way. Another example of them looking outside the box.
So what's he been doing for the last 3 years?
Good question.
Been registered?
Yeah, he's an Essendon fan. He left behind his footy and turned to athletics, and last year he won the men's 800 metre at the Australian National Championship, so I think he's given Brent Stanton a go throughout the pre-season time trials and all the rest. But look, he does have a footy background though. He's come through the Western Jets. He was overlooked in the 2009 draft. So obviously they were impressed enough to take him on and give him a shot.
So clearly, Ro, with what Callum's had to say, the Bombers at the end of 2013 said, hell or high water, we need speed and aerobic capacity to bolster up the midfield.
I was going to say, Cal, I mean, if you're looking at the draftees as a whole, that would be the single biggest conclusion, wouldn't it? Pace, pace, pace.
And good skills.
Yeah.
So you look at Zach Merritt, I have the feeling that off that draft crop, he's probably one of the better kicks. He will be one of the better kicks going forward. So they've got pace and skills, which, looking at that midfield brigade, that's what they probably do need. As that, there's a couple of guys coming through there, but a lot of reliance is put on David Zaharakis and Jake Melksham to provide the skills through the midfield. They get a couple of young guys in who can develop in that aspect.
And I think what's great about that too, Schwatter, is, we know how much Bomber Thompson loves strong-bodied, tough midfielders. Essendon's sort of had the crux of that for a while, I think. Pace is probably one thing that's been missing. Skills, I mean, you need those 3 elements. And I think you look at the midfield group now with these guys coming into it, and the balance of all 3 qualities is better.
It is. And then you look at the guys who they've actually acquired from trade. So they got the 2 GWS boys, Sean Edwards and Kurt Aylett, for pick 48. Another really smart recruiting decision, given the fact that pick 48 in this draft isn't overly strong. So it was a weak-ish draft, not overly deep. So they got those 2 players for one. Didn't get a lot of opportunities up at GWS. They both bring pace. They both bring versatility and running power. So, look, a couple of good acquisitions there. And overall, if you add those 2 in the mix, then there's a lot of options, a lot of versatility and flexibility and speed.
Start getting used to those names. Merritt, that's Zach, the younger brother of Jackson. Fantasia, Orazio. I'm going to love that through the course of 2014, Ro. Orazio, Fantasia, Lockie Dalglish, Fraser Patrick Ambrose and Johnny Rayner. Well, a man that made the same decision as Paul Chapman 12 months earlier ended up having his best year. Wins his first best and fairest. Jackie Reed's got the current best and fairest winner, and that is Brendon Goddard.
Well, thanks, Wayne. Brendon Goddard, you've been good enough to give up some of your time here. It's great to see the fans out and about today.
Yeah, it is. We didn't know what to expect really. I understand it's still school holidays at a few schools, so it's good to see the true Bombers fans out today.
Colorado, how was it?
It was very cold, as you probably saw in a few photos and tweets on Instagram. But yeah, it was a good camp at the end. We achieved what we wanted to achieve, our football and also our fitness objectives. So all in all, it was a pretty good camp.
What was the highlight of the camp, personally?
I think for a few boys, waking up on the Wednesday morning and seeing about 6 inches of snow. A few of the guys from Western Australia in particular hadn't seen snow before, so that novelty wore off after a couple of days, and it just makes life so much harder with going out, what you put on your body, and then driving is one of the most difficult things.
Do you feel the benefits when you come home almost immediately?
Oh, look, it's the air's a little bit easier to breathe, and it doesn't feel like you're sucking air through a straw. So you see the difference when you do come back and train. But in terms of the benefits, I think it's different for every individual, and that may be in 2 weeks' time or 6 weeks, depending on the individual again. So, but I love those kind of things, to get away in the elite environment for 2.5 weeks, spend time with the boys, and just find out a few things about each other that you probably wouldn't when you're back here in Australia.
It is an important bonding experience, isn't it? Particularly with the new faces that have joined the club.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we actually didn't get the whole playing list across. So it was 26 senior guys, so we knew each other relatively well. But I think in due course and in the future, to get the whole team over there and a larger travelling party would really be beneficial.
You left the camp early. Can you talk us through the reasons why?
Well, I had a calf complaint in there in the first week, but to be honest, that wasn't the reason I came back early. I just had a family issue to deal with, a passing away of my girlfriend's grandfather. So came home early, but yeah, as I said, I had a calf complaint in the first week, and just trying to managing my load now, just going forward, and I'll be back into full training post-Christmas.
Yeah, how do you manage that for the next few weeks? Is it just light duties and a bit of monitoring?
I wouldn't say light duties. Cross-training and rehab's not easy, so I've been in this morning already at 7 o'clock and did some running this morning, did a bike session and weights already, so to get out here early this afternoon. But yeah, I think rehab and cross-training is a lot harder than normal. I'd definitely like to be out here, that's for sure.
The Colorado boys are actually going at it a little harder than we had thought. Who has impressed you so far this pre-season?
There's a few highlights, or standouts, should I say, but Leroy Jetter's actually training really well, Travis Collier, and there are a few guys that it's a little bit younger, but in terms of the travelling party of Colorado, so those guys really stood out. Dylan Van Unen, Alex Brown's actually come back really fit and healthy, so they're real positives going forward. I think most lists, that's where you get the improvement from, is that bottom half of the group, or I should say the younger half of the group, so that's where we'll be looking to make improvements this year.
Out of your first to 4 year players, who should we be looking forward to seeing next year?
First to 4, everyone's talked about Joey Danaher and him playing more senior footy this year, but don't be surprised. Lockie Dalglish was blooded last year, late in the year. Jason Ashby is his second pre-season under his belt. So I think those two guys in particular, but you might see there'll be about 3 or 4 other guys, with a few new additions of some older guys being brought on the list.
There's a different feeling at the club as well this time of year. You've got Bomber at the helm, you've got new facilities, it's all happening at Essendon.
Yeah, a few changes, and we've got all the supporters out here today and out here at Tullamarine. So the True Value Solar Centre. But yeah, there's been a few changes, and obviously, you know, during the year, I shouldn't say last year, but last season, what went on has always been in the back of our minds. It's never going to go away, to be honest. So, but we've definitely got a fresh start and a fresh mindset moving out here, going into season 2014.
The facilities, how big a difference will that be for this year?
Oh, look, yeah, it's chalk and cheese compared to the old Windy Hill. I experienced it at my previous club, obviously going from Moorabbin to Seaford. So, but then again, going from Windy Hill to here is another step up. This, as you can probably see, and the people are seeing today, walking through the facility, it's state of the art. It's world class, and there's still a few teething problems and a few things to finish off in due course, but that's understandable moving in such a big building. But just a recovery area, indoor facility, and just a lot more room for growth as well.
Well, thanks very much for your time. There you have it, Brendon Goddard.
Yes, thanks, Jackie, and congratulations and well done to Brendon Goddard. 22 games, 18 goals, and he finally wins his first best and fairest. He had a remarkable year.
He got under a lot of people's guards, I think. You know, there were a few people quite surprised he won the BNF, but when you look back at his year, he was just so consistent, either, you know, in that creative roll-off halfback, going through the midfield, and that's exactly why they got him, for that versatility and experience and, you know, silky skills.
Talking about flying under the radar, I reckon there's a handy little defender by the name of Mark Bagley that had a pretty good year as well. Most improved, 21 of 22 games. He had a terrific 2013 year.
Oh, no doubt. I reckon a lot of people would have looked at him at the end of 2-12 and said, well, you know, we know this guy has a crack. Is he sufficiently polished enough to play AFL football? And he answered that question very effectively last year, ended up winning the most improved, Cal.
And he took on a couple of guys that were really good players as well. I think he beat Stephen Milner on occasion, Eddie Betts too. So look, he knows his limitations, I think, as well, and every defender needs to do that. But he's hard, he's courageous in the air, and I think they've got some trust in him now with his foot skills too. So a really good year from him, and he's well rewarded at the end of it.
Type of player that you'd think Bomber Thompson would really like, a set and forget player, do the job, don't worry about getting the pill, just shut the opposition dangerous player down.
I think he reminds me a bit of Bomber, actually. Just, you know, perhaps not quite as polished as Bomber was, but I think he'll get there. And he was a revelation in 2013, no doubt.
I know David Myers attracted a fair bit of interest elsewhere, but the club, I'm led to believe, hosed that down pretty quickly.
Well, I've got to say, I was one bloke who was very glad they hosed it down quickly. I'm a huge rap for him. He's just such a penetrating kick. You know, they're at a real premium in footy these days, and he's got a kick like a mule. You know, I guess one criticism, he probably needs to lift his possession rate a bit. You know, probably doesn't win enough of the ball, but strong body again, which Bomber likes. Beautiful kick. There's such upside still to his game. He'd be one guy I'd be looking at for 2014 and thinking this guy could go from making Essendon a final side to a top 4 side.
I think he played 20 games last year, and that's the most he's ever played. Obviously, he's had a really tough run with injury. He came to the club fit, healthy, and ever since then he's sort of had those struggles with his groin and his back and his hamstrings. He had a full pre-season last year for the first time, and he was wrapped with that, and that showed in his footy. So there's a bit of talk at the end of the year that he wanted to play more midfield, and that's why some other clubs were interested in giving him those opportunities. He still plays a lot in the midfield, probably more around the square, but he's tough, as you say. He's big-bodied, kicks the ball and makes the clearances, so a lot of value, and a player that Essendon don't really have apart from him. So.
All right, the Bombers have got the Merritt brothers. We're going to head back out to the True Value Solar Centre now, because the name Heppell may also be joined by a younger sibling. Jackie Reid has the Heppell brothers.
Well, it's fair to say, Dyson, that you're well known for your hairdo around here at Essendon, but your younger brother might be giving you a run for your money. Tell us a little bit about Aaron.
Yeah, as he's, I suppose he's copied my haircut, so he's done that since he was younger, copying me, but no, it's good to have him down training with the VFL and that, so good.
You've signed with the VFL side. Tell us a bit about that and how that came about.
Yeah, it came down probably 3 weeks ago now, bit of a run round, and yeah, joining the Skippy and the boys, it's been good, yeah.
Bit disappointing to miss out on the draft, but a second chance now.
Yeah,
really.
Very disappointing, but yeah, I suppose just have a good year in the VFL here and wait till next year and see what happens, yeah.
How's the family reacted to this?
Yeah, no, I suppose it's pretty exciting for the family. You know, Essendon's been really good for me and the family, and you know, it's great that they're looking after us as well. So.
You guys going to be living together? What goes on there?
Yeah, I'm moving in the middle of January. Got Dyson, the older brother, Jamin. We've got the three of us in there.
He pretty much moved in this year. He was camping on the couch whenever he was in Melbourne, so it won't be any different.
So Aaron, what sort of player are you? Are you similar to Dyson?
Yeah, in some ways, but a bit different. He's got a few centimetres on me, so I
stitch him up.
I'm a bit quicker than him though. Better runner, yeah. Nah, it's back flank, midfield. No, it's good.
No worries. So, Dice, you just got back from Colorado. Tell me, what was the highlight of the trip?
Yeah, great trip in Colorado. You know, multiple highlights of the trip. I think it was really good to take a bigger crew over this year, so I suppose getting to know more of the boys a lot better and forming a real bond with a lot of the guys. So it was great.
There's plenty of new faces. It must have been pretty important to get to know them over there.
Yeah, no doubt. There was you know, a lot of new faces, but they did. We had the first of 3-year players stay back here, did their own form of training, and you know, a few of the new boys come over as well. So fantastic.
You had a foot issue towards the end of the season. How's that tracking now?
Yeah, foot's going really well. So I was able to do everything over in Colorado, and there's been no issues at all. So it's come along really well since surgery. Yeah.
So no monitoring required over January. You're right back in it.
Yeah, right to go. So no, ready to rip in. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, it's a family affair here at Essendon. Dyson and Aaron Heppell.
Thanks, Jackie. Well, you've got your Danahers, Rowe, you've got your Merritts, and now you've got your Heppells.
Well, I've got to be honest, I saw some footage earlier and I thought, gee, what a great marketing initiative, the Dyson Heppell lookalike contest.
Sell a few wigs, wouldn't you?
Well, it's an amazing hair. I just don't know how they do it. A lot of product obviously goes into it, but I guess, Cal, you know, a lot of people obviously will be hoping Aaron can play half as well as Dyson. Are there similarities as footballers?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some tendencies there. I mean, sometimes you looked at games last year and everyone would bustle through traffic, spin out, and you'd think, geez, he's Dyson all over again. Look, he's not as tall as Dyson. He's probably lacking a bit of pace. So that's probably one of the things that held him back from being drafted in the national draft or rookie selection. But look, he moves through traffic. He's smart. He's really clean below his knees, like Dyson's become, you know, really good at too. So look, a good addition for the VFL side, and you'd expect that at that level that he'd perform quite well.
And people will be amazed just how much work goes into making your hair look that messy. I mean, you might.
You're asking the wrong bloke, bro.
No, I can tell that. But for us younger people, Schrotter, no, I'm just kidding. You'd think, how do you get out of bed and put enough product in your hair that it looks like you haven't actually done your hair, but you probably spent about 2 hours doing it?
Well, years of effort, isn't there? Those two have, you know, they're clones. And there's a third one as well that had similar hair at some stage as well. So all three of them lined up, and they're pretty similar.
I can think of Wizard of Oz, Strawman sort of thing happening there. But as we said, I mean, if he plays half as well as Dyson does, I think Essendon will be very well served.
Yeah, good luck to Aaron, and all the best to his brother Dyson. Well, I know that these two esteemed Essendon men have done so, but if you haven't, then join the Red and Black Army in 2014 with membership starting from just $50 for adults and $25 for kids. Visit membership.essendonfc.com.au or call 1300 46 26 62 today. And don't forget the brand new Bomber Shop headquarter is open at the True Value Solar Centre from Monday through to Friday. Make sure you check out the interactive pre-season catalogue online at bombershop.com.au. Big thank you to you, Rowan, and a big thank you to you, Cal. Look forward to a massive 2014 for the Bombers, and let's hope it's for all the right reasons, which I'm sure it will be. And a big thank you to you for joining us on this special event, coming to you live from the Bombers' brand new facility, the True Value Solar Centre. And as we bid you farewell, have a very safe and happy New Year. On behalf of the Essendon players, they're going to extend their finest Christmas best wishes. Thanks for joining us. Merry Christmas and goodbye.
Thank you to all our proud, passionate, incredible members and fans for all your support this year.
It's been a tough year for everyone at the footy club, but importantly it hasn't broken us, and together we can look forward to season 2014.
If you've signed up, thank you. If you haven't, make sure you do. We need your support.
There's a lot to be excited about next year. We've moved into our new facility and we're all committed to getting better at everything we do.
We've had a great start to the pre-season, including our high-altitude training camp in Boulder. It's been tough, but great for the players so far. We're wishing you a happy, safe and Merry Christmas and New Year from a cold Boulder.
Merry Christmas!